This video is a texture analysis section demonstrating how we have used the codes and conventions of a British social realism film.
We're going to be discussing some of the following. We're going to be talking about the narrative, the genre, the camera angles, the continuity editing, the sound, the mise-en-scène, typography, iconography, and much more.
And how we have conformed to our genre of British social realism. Our target audience is aimed towards 16 to 24-year-olds. However, in our opening sequence, we aim towards the ages or the older ages in that target audience, but we still think that the opening sequence we made is appropriate for the younger ages in that target audience. We created a very sophisticated British social realism opening sequence that appears to focus on
the Asian community.
Yeah.
But because he's a businessman, it can also appeal to other ethnicities or races, such as like white or black or any other race. Having the fact that he's a businessman, it can appeal to anyone because anyone can be a businessman. It shows that he has to work for what he wants, and within any race, nothing is handed to you. So it relates to that.
And also the fact that it shows that he's a businessman. It's like it's more targeted towards people in the UK because in the UK people have normally a good education. They work in cities as well. According to the location, you can see it's more of a city location. It's not really set in a countryside.
This man being Asian follows a stereotypical representation of, normally because Asian people are known for being smart and wanting to go into very academic things. So this shows a stereotypical representation. But later on, when you see him being tempted by a prostitute, we then see him breaking the stereotypical representation of a normal Asian businessman and moving on to something different, which you wouldn't really expect. But then this does show the reality of something.
Also the fact that in our target audience, we aim towards the 16 or 24-year-olds, and we thought that they would probably watch quite mainstream channels like Comedy Central, and one of the programs on Comedy Central which is quite famous is 2.5 Men, and that also focuses kind of with dysfunctional families as well. So we think that people who watch these kind of channels would probably understand the situations that are going on in this opening sequence, because they can kind of see that the fact of how everyday life can get really stressful sometimes, and that this man who appears to have everything really, he goes and just takes things for granted.
The sophistication of the character appeals to the target audience because although teenagers can watch it, it is aimed to more of a middle class audience.
Older audience, really.
Yeah, the older middle class audience. And having the character and his job and everything, it just appeals to them more. Because why would like a working class person, not even working class, middle class person who earns a decent amount and like
who has a nice home,
would want to watch something about teenagers in the streets and stuff like that? This appeals to them more because in some ways it is more realistic to them, and they probably can relate to it in some ways. But work life, like they wanted to be very successful and moving up the ladder in your workplace.
The difficulties and the stresses, or everyone really struggles with work nowadays. And I think it also shows the economics of like nowadays, because it's hard for people to find a job, and that most people are not really happy with the jobs that they're in because it's so hard to find a decent job nowadays.
And it shows he has to work for what he wants. Like, it's not handed down to him. Whereas someone who, like, it shows that he's not born into it because he has to work his way up. As someone who's like born upper class, they have everything handed to them, and they normally they don't start from the bottom. They start quite high up and work their way up, and starting right from the bottom.
I think that definitely relates of the working up to get what you want. Definitely relates to our target audience, because our target audience is from UK, Britain. Most people who live in UK, Britain are middle class anyway, and they go to normal schools like normal state schools, really. Is that the right word? Yeah, and normal, not private schools. There's not many people that go to private schools. Mostly public schools, and go to sixth form, and they have to go to university and work hard to get where they are.
Some of the themes in our opening sequence relate a lot to our target audience. Like, dysfunctional families is something that
I think everyone can relate to, really, because no one really has perfect families nowadays.
The research we did to find out what our target audience would like was we did a focus group. The focus group focuses on 5 to 6 people, and we asked them a range of questions on different British social realism open sequences or trailers to find out what they like and what they don't like about it. We focus on the themes within them, and we find out what they like, what they dislike, and what they think they could be
Be related to.
Yeah.
And we make sure we used a range of ethnicities in our not opening sequence, the target group, the focus group.
Yeah.
So it shows like really how different ethnicities can relate to different themes. Really,
focusing on the teenagers we have in the room, we thought it would be more useful to have them rather than older people, because we know what's going to attract our older audience. We don't really know what's going to attract our teenage audience. So by having teenagers in there, it helps. It helps us give a more understanding of what
despite us being
like.
in their own age range, I think everyone has very different things that they like nowadays.
Yeah.
There's not really a set theme which teenagers can relate to, really, because I think things have changed so much.
And asking like what they think could improve on in each of the trailers opening sequences is really helpful, because these are things that are like professionally made, and having their opinions on what they could improve, we use in ours, and then it helps relate to them more.
We also asked them what they thought of our idea initially, and this was their response. Basically, our idea for our British social realism film is about it's based on domestic violence. It's about a man who has two sides to him. He's either a hard-working lawyer or he's a domestic abuser. Basically, he makes his wife feel as if she's nothing and reduces her, and she feels that it's her own fault. And then when he goes to work, he's fighting cases for men beating up their women, and then he goes home and does exactly the same. So he's just contradicting himself. What do you think of that, and how could you make that better? Or
I like the idea of domestic violence more, because I think. Huh? No. I mean, as in the sense. Oh my god, sorry, I mean. As in the sense, it's ironic because obviously he's a lawyer and then he's doing the same thing at home.
But do you think it would make sense to do that, or?
Yeah, because like his work life is corrupting his mind, so probably he works too much. I don't know.
Maybe you can add like an affair, like the wife's having an affair. That's why she feels guilty. Because
but then it's
No,
her fault.
we're trying to show.
But she's having an affair because like she feels like her husband's not loving her and everything.
It would add more if the husband was having an affair, which is why he cheated his wife like
she's
that.
the innocent, because right now she's the innocent one, but when she has an affair, she's going to be the one that no one likes.
And
then everyone's going to be like, yeah, you should hit her more.
Yeah. Okay, then the husband should have an affair.
I think no one.
And I think it should have an unusual twist, not the soppy he goes to jail. I think it should have that really good twist.
How would you show all of that in like an opening
because
sequence? Though?
that's what our main aim is, to make an opening sequence. We're just showing you the kind of themes that come up in British social realism films. So how would
scream
you?
at the end from the woman.
Yeah.
I think that would be
very. Between
Yeah.
him working and being in the courtroom, and having him fighting a case against someone who's beating up their wife, and then it flashes to him getting his own wife.
Yeah.
Back and forth.
Like a theme of sub theme of comedy.
4 lines purely because it's the funniest.
Throughout our focus group, we've noticed that quite a lot, but we find it quite difficult to include a theme of comedy in a British social opening. I think
it takes away from what we're trying to achieve and what we're trying to show. Because if we're trying to show a domestic violence household, and if we're trying to show, we're trying to gradually build up the scene as it goes along, adding suspense and just building up tension throughout. And showing comedy will take away from that completely. And I know it's what they're like, but
I think
what we were
sometimes
making was not catering to what they wanted.
Because again, then you have to think about the other older people within the target audience. And I don't think the comedy that teenagers find funny, that older people would find funny as well. That's why we think it was useful to have teenagers in our target audience, because we kind of know what adults would like and what they wouldn't really like.
We showed them a range of videos, like how many did we show? Like 8?
I think we should, we
showed 8. And along the side, we did a printout, and the printout had a picture of the film. It had
themes used in it.
Yeah.
Because many of the people that we use in our target groups, they haven't watched British social films before. So we found this quite useful because that could relate to quite a lot of people that would watch our films, because maybe people who are going to watch our film haven't watched a British social film before. So it's important for us to familiarise them with the themes and stuff.
It just helps give them more of an understanding, really. Because if they're more into Hollywood mainstream films. So, and like when you watch a film, you don't think, oh, what are the themes? What is this about? So when they're watching something different, it's good to have it there, just to
Emphasize.
give them a guide. Okay, to summarise, our target audience is aimed towards 16 to 24-year-olds, but towards the older ages in that group. Mainly towards the middle class, because the situations that our characters deal with mostly relate to the middle class, being home-wise, work-wise, and more into family life.
Yeah. And I think middle class people find their family very important. So I think
it shows him he's working to provide for his family, but he just can't keep up with it.
The everyday life anymore.
And then it can relate to our target audience a lot, because it's realistic. It doesn't just show him living high life with
no sense of hard work.
Yeah.
So I think everything comes together nicely.
Like there's a price
Yes.
of everything he's gained.
Definitely.
And that is our target audience.